New York doesn't kill you quickly. It studies you first. I learned that in my second year as a reporter, when I realized the city only rewards two kinds of people, the powerful and the silent. Everyone else is disposable. I wasn't either. At 26, I was ambitious, underpaid, and stupid enough to believe truth still mattered. I chased stories other reporters avoided, the ones that came with warnings disguised as advice. Drop it, Sidney. That name doesn't print well. You don't want that kind of attention. Cheon. The name surfaced everywhere and nowhere at once. No criminal record, no scandals, just ownership documents, shell companies, and luxury hotels that never failed inspections. Clean, too clean. The NYPD never said his name out loud. Neither did the mob watchers, but every money trail bent in his direction. And when money bends, power is standing nearby. That night, I wasn't chasing him. I was chasing proof. The tip came from a bartender who refused to look me in the eye. Midnight transfers, he muttered, wiping an already clean glass. Hotels, cash-heavy nights, alley pickups. Which alley? I asked. He hesitated too long. Queens, he finally said, and don't ask me again. That should have been enough to scare me off. It was. I told myself I was just observing. No confrontation, no photos, just notes. The rain started as I parked, thin, cold needles soaking through my blazer. The alley was narrow, forgotten by streetlights, smelling of trash and old brick. I checked my phone, signal weak. That's when I felt it. The shift in the air. Footsteps behind me. Fast. Someone grabbed my arm and slammed me into the wall. My notebook fell, my breath left my lungs. A hand clamped over my mouth hard enough to bruise. I struggled, kicked, scratched, tasted blood. Then a voice cut through the panic. Let her go. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The hands on me disappeared instantly. I slid down the wall, coughing, shaking, heart slamming against my ribs. Shoes stepped into view, polished, expensive, untouched by the filth around us. When I looked up, I saw him. Cheon. He stood like the alley belonged to him, like the rain answered to him. Dark hair, sharp features, eyes unreadable and cold. The men who attacked me were gone. I never saw them leave. Cheon looked down at me, assessing, not concerned. Wrong place, he said calmly, wrong curiosity. I forced myself to stand. You're Cheon, I said. A pause, brief, dangerous. And you're Sidney Clark, he replied. My stomach dropped. You write about ghosts, he continued, but you don't know how to recognize one when it's standing in front of you. I should have denied everything, I didn't. Why save me, I asked. He stepped closer, not touching, not yet. Because you weren't supposed to be here tonight, he said, and because I don't like loose ends created without my permission. The rain streaked down his face. His gaze dipped briefly to my lips, my throat, the way my chest rose too fast. Then back to my eyes. Come with me, he said. It wasn't a request. The car was black, soundproof, smelled like leather and something expensive I couldn't name. I sat across from him, knees tight together, hands clenched in my lap. The city blurred past the tinted windows, familiar streets suddenly foreign. You were digging into my hotels, Cheon said casually. Why? Because people are disappearing, I replied. And you think I'm responsible. I think you're connected. His mouth curved slightly, not a smile. Careful, he said, that kind of thinking gets reporters buried. The car stopped in front of a tower of glass and gold, one of his hotels. He opened the door himself. Inside, the silence was absolute. As we stepped into a private elevator, his hand brushed my lower back, light, deliberate. Electric. You should have stayed curious from a distance, Sidney, he murmured. The doors closed. And I knew with terrifying clarity that my life had already split into before and after him. The elevator moved without a sound. No music, no small talk, just the quiet hum of ascent and the weight of Cheon's presence beside me. The glass walls revealed the city shrinking below us, lights blurring into patterns that felt unreal. You're shaking, he said. I was attacked, I replied. That tends to happen. His gaze flicked to my hands. I hadn't realized they were trembling. You shouldn't lie to me, he said calmly. Not this early. I looked up. I'm not lying. No, he agreed. You're afraid, but not of me. The doors opened before I could respond. A private floor, marble, soft lighting, no staff in sight. This is where you get off, he said. And if I refuse? His eyes darkened just slightly. You won't. The office was vast, all glass and steel. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan like a possession. A half-poured glass of whiskey sat untouched on the desk. Cheon removed his jacket slowly, deliberately, rolled his sleeves once. The movement felt intimate, like he was undressing the room rather than himself. You followed financial transfers tied to my hotels, he said. You spoke to people who don't exist on paper. I said nothing. That alley wasn't coincidence, he continued. It was a test. My breath caught. A test for who? For you. He moved closer, not aggressive, worse, patient. You passed, he said, barely. You don't print this story, Cheon said. You don't pursue my name, and you don't return to that alley. And in return, I asked. He tilted his head, studying me like a puzzle. In return, you stay alive. That's not a deal, that's a threat. He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel warmth radiating from him. No, he corrected, this is mercy. My heart pounded. His presence filled the space, controlled, dangerous, intoxicating. You're curious, he murmured. That's why this is difficult for you. And for you, I asked. A pause. For me, he said quietly, you're a complication. Cheon reached past me and poured the whiskey. The clink of ice echoed too loudly in the room. People disappear in this city because they don't know when to stop, he said. You were close. He handed me the glass. I don't drink on assignments. This isn't an assignment, he replied. I took a sip, the burn grounded me. You don't belong in my world, he continued, but you stepped into it anyway. His eyes held mine, unblinking. If you cross me, I won't save you again. I believed him. He let me go just after midnight. No escort, no threats, just a car waiting downstairs and his voice behind me as I reached the door. Curiosity makes you brave, Cheon said, but it also makes you predictable. I turned back. Why let me walk away? He met my gaze steadily. Because now, he said, you'll think about me before every choice you make. The door closed softly behind me. Outside, the city felt louder, cruder, less controlled. I knew I should have felt relieved. Instead, my skin still hummed where he'd stood too close. My thoughts circled one dangerous truth. Cheon didn't stop me because he feared exposure. He stopped me because he was already watching. I noticed the car on the third day. Same make, same dark tint, parked across from my apartment like it belonged there. I told myself it was coincidence. New York thrives on paranoia, but when it followed me to work 2 cars back, always just far enough, I stopped pretending. Cheon hadn't let me go. He had repositioned me. My editor complained that my latest pictures felt distracted. I lied easily. The truth sat too close to my skin, humming like exposed wire. That night, I checked my apartment twice before locking the door. Still, I slept lightly. At exactly 2:17 a.m. my phone lit up. Unknown number. You left your curtains open. My breath caught. I didn't reply. Seconds later, another message appeared. Sleep, Sidney, you're safe tonight. I didn't sleep at all. The envelope arrived at my desk the next morning. No return address, heavy paper, 1 line of text inside. Dinner, 8 p.m., don't be late. The location was one of his hotels. I should have refused, I didn't. That evening I wore black, simple, professional, defensive. When I stepped into the private dining room, Cheon was already there, jacket off, sleeves rolled, glass of wine untouched. You came, he said. You summoned, I replied. His eyes flicked over me, slow, appreciative, controlled. That's it. Dinner was quiet, intimate in a way that unsettled me. You're investigating me less, he observed. Because you're watching me, I said. Yes, he agreed, and because you're learning. He leaned forward. Curiosity is only dangerous when it's uncontrolled. After dinner, he walked me to the elevator. We stood too close, the space between us felt intentional. You're not afraid now, Cheon said softly. I am, I replied, I just understand the rules. He lifted his hand, slowly stopping inches from my face. Didn't touch me. The restraint was louder than contact. You don't know the rules yet, he murmured. You only know what I allow you to see. My pulse betrayed me. Is this what you wanted? I asked. Control. His eyes darkened. No, he said, control is easy. The elevator arrived. This, he added, stepping back, is restraint. The mistake was meeting him again. This time it wasn't public, it wasn't formal. It was his penthouse. Rain against glass, city lights pulsing below, no guards in sight. I should have felt exposed, instead I felt chosen. We stood near the window, close, too close. His fingers brushed my wrist, testing, not claiming. I didn't pull away. That's dangerous, he said quietly. So is following me, I replied. His hand tightened slightly, not enough to hurt, enough to anchor. For you, he murmured. His breath grazed my ear, heat pooled low in my stomach. He stopped himself, stepped back. The denial felt heavier than touch. Leave, he said. I did, shaking, furious, wanting more than I should. That night I dreamed of him. Not what he did, but what he didn't. The restraint, the control, the promise of something darker waiting just beyond the line. The next morning my phone buzzed. You shouldn't dream about men like me. My breath stuttered. You don't know what I dream about, I typed. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Finally. Be careful, Sidney. Desire is easier to exploit than fear. I stared at the message, heat crawling under my skin. I was still free. But freedom had started to feel like a lie we were both politely ignoring. I stopped answering him. No replies, no acknowledgements. I went back to pitching safe stories, smiling at my editor, pretending my life hadn't narrowed into the shape of one man. Cheon didn't chase. That was the unnerving part. The car disappeared, the messages stopped, the silence stretched until it felt deliberate. Then, 3 days later, my source from Queens turned up dead. Overdose, they said. I knew better. That night I stood in my kitchen with the lights off, city noise drifting through the window, understanding settling cold in my chest. This wasn't flirtation anymore. This was consequence. My phone rang at midnight. I answered. Come over, Cheon said, no greeting, no softness. I didn't do this, he added. I didn't say you did, I replied. Silence. Sidney, he said quietly, don't confuse my interest with protection. His penthouse felt different this time. Sharper, colder. He poured 2 drinks and handed me one without asking. I took it. The bartender talked, Cheon said, to you, to others. He died, I said. Yes. My grip tightened on the glass. You want the truth, he asked, or the version that lets you sleep? I want the truth. He studied me for a long moment. My world doesn't punish curiosity, he said, it punishes disloyalty. The weight of his gaze pressed into me. You're standing close to a line, he continued. 1 step closer and I won't be able to pull you back. Is that a warning, I asked, or an invitation? His jaw tightened. That, he said, is the question that will ruin you. The storm broke outside, thunder rattling the windows, rain streaking down glass like the city was bleeding. I should have left. Instead, I stepped closer. So stop me, I said. He froze. For the first time, Cheon looked conflicted. When he moved, it was slow, careful, like approaching a live wire. His hand came to my waist, firm, claiming, heat spread instantly. This is where it ends, he murmured against my temple. It doesn't feel like an ending, I whispered. His breath hitched barely. He leaned in, forehead resting against mine, close enough that every breath felt shared. His grip tightened just enough to remind me who controlled the space. The kiss never happened. The tension did. When he finally stepped back, his eyes were dark, dangerous. "You don't understand what you're asking for," he said. "I understand exactly," I replied. The next day, someone broke into my apartment. Nothing was stolen. Everything was moved. My notebook lay open on the table, a single word written in red ink across the page. "Stop. I didn't call the police. I called Cheon." "I didn't authorize that," he said immediately. "But you know who did." "Yes." Fear slid into place beside desire, heavy and unavoidable. "You're not safe alone anymore," he said. "So what happens now?" I asked. A pause. "Now," he said, "you belong in my shadow." I packed one bag. Cheon's driver didn't speak when he picked me up. The city watched as I disappeared into tinted glass. The safe house was quiet, minimal, guarded. Cheon arrived later that night. He stood in the doorway, watching me like he was memorizing a crime scene. "This isn't protection," I said. "This is possession." "Yes," he agreed calmly, "and you walked into it with open eyes." I should have been angry. Instead, my body betrayed me, responding to the certainty in his voice, the promise of danger wrapped in control. He stopped a step away. "This is the last line," he said. "Once you cross it, there's no version of your life where I'm not part of it." I met his gaze, heart pounding. I crossed it a long time ago. The silence that followed was heavy, charged, inevitable. And somewhere deep down I knew. The real story was only just beginning. The safe house didn't feel safe. It felt deliberate. Minimal furniture, neutral colors, no personal traces. A place designed for people who didn't stay long or didn't exist at all. Cheon closed the door behind him. The sound echoed. "You're restless," he said. "I've never been locked away before." "You're not locked," he replied. "You're protected." I laughed softly. That's what men say when they decide for women. His gaze sharpened, careful. I stepped closer, too close. "You told me I crossed the line," I said, "so stop pretending you didn't pull me across." For a moment, he didn't move. Then his hand came up, slow, deliberate, fingers brushing my jaw, tilting my face up. The touch was controlled, possessive, intimate in a way that stole my breath. "This is what you wanted," he said quietly. "No," I replied, "this is what you didn't stop." His mouth hovered near mine, heat coiled low in my body. When he finally kissed me, it was restrained, measured, but charged enough to make my knees weaken. He broke away first. "Enough," he said, voice rough, "for tonight." Restraint again. It was more intoxicating than surrender. Later, we sat on opposite ends of the couch, space between us heavy with what hadn't happened. "You're different," I said. "That's a mistake," he replied. "No," I insisted, "you care." His jaw tightened. "I don't do things halfway," Cheon said, "including destruction." I turned to face him. "Is that what I am to you?" He met my gaze. "You're a vulnerability," he said honestly, "and those get exploited." "By who?" "By people who want leverage over me." The truth settled like ice. "Then let me go," I said. His eyes darkened. "I can't." The admission felt heavier than any threat. The news broke the next morning. A leaked article, anonymous source, financial crimes tied to Cheon's hotels. My stomach dropped as I read it. I hadn't published it. But someone used my research. Cheon read the article in silence. Then he looked at me. "Did you give this to someone?" he asked calmly. "No, I meant it." But doubt crept in anyway. "You were the only loose thread," he said. "And now?" I asked. Now he stood, walked away, made a call in Korean too fast for me to follow. When he returned, his expression was unreadable. "You're not leaving," he said, "not until I know the truth." For the first time since I met him, I felt afraid of him. That night I sat alone in the bedroom. The city felt distant, unreal. I thought about my career, my name, my life before Cheon, and how easily it had unraveled. He came in just before dawn. "You were set up," he said quietly, "by someone in your newsroom." Relief hit me so hard I had to steady myself. "But this changes nothing," he continued. "You're exposed now. So what happens to me?" He looked at me like the answer hurt. "You stay," he said, "or you disappear. And if I choose neither?" A pause. "Then I lose control," he admitted, "and people die." I understood then. This wasn't about love. It was about power. And survival. I stood in front of the mirror as the sun rose. A woman who walked into an alley chasing a story wouldn't recognize the one staring back. Cheon stood behind me, close but not touching. "Once you're in my world," he said, "there's no clean exit." I met his gaze in the reflection. "Then tell me the truth," I said, "all of it." He exhaled slowly. "My enemies won't stop," he said, "and now they know your name." "Then teach me how to survive," I replied. His eyes darkened, not with desire this time but respect. "Very well," Cheon said, "but understand this." He leaned in, voice low, dangerous. "You're no longer just a reporter." The city roared to life below us. "You're part of my bloodline now." And in that moment I knew. The story I thought I was telling had never been mine.